Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour. Doing things a little bit differently. We're here with none other than Thor Nystrom, and we got QB Film Room joining us tonight. It's just going to be a different type of Vikings Happy Hour episode. We're going to do two different things. The first one, which will just be primarily this episode, we're just going to be talking about the free agency moves that we made this week, and then we're going to cut up later and do some scouting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think your mic's off already.
Oh, we got it.
But I promised Thor that we wouldn't have to watch ourselves on the screen. But we do have JJ McCarthy highlights in the background here.
We're coming to you guys live from my living room. So that's the setup. But we got JJ McCarthy up on the projector, as is usually the case in the Nystrom household.
So I feel like the big elephant in the room before we get to the signings, we kind of talked about it pre-show. QB Film Room's an advocate for it, by the way. He's been very active on social media saying he wants Aaron Rodgers to come to the Minnesota Vikings. But Thor, that means JJ McCarthy is not the starting quarterback this year.
Yeah, everyone's afforded one bad take, and that's QB Film Room's.
One of many bad takes, perhaps.
I mean, certainly in future years beyond next year, McCarthy is the direction, but beyond that, JJ McCarthy in 2025 will be a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you're helping the 2025 incarnation of the Vikings by doing that. You're certainly not helping the incarnations beyond that. So I think it's a ludicrous idea.
Yeah, and my reasoning for, obviously having KOC, there's the connection between Rodgers and Kevin O'Connell. Okay. There's the connection between Aaron Rodgers and Mike Pettin, who's also on staff.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously Aaron Jones as well. So from Rodgers' perspective, this easily has to be his first choice. It's just,
for sure.
is the fabrication of mutual interest just that? Is it a fabrication or is it real? So that's
100% the reason he hasn't signed yet is because he is waiting for the Vikings to make an offer. And it's like his agent is like putting it out to reporters like, oh, yeah,
right.
They could be interested in Aaron. And, we'll see. We're being patient. That's what it is. He's waiting around for that contract offer, the proposal. I don't think it's coming for him, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, why would you agree to go to the Steelers or the Giants until the Vikings firmly tell you no?
100%.
Was it you who made the reference about the prom date?
Yeah. The Giants and the Steelers have already asked him to prom, but he's waiting for his crust to ask him. The Vikings, he's sitting there just staring at his phone for weeks, and then the Steelers, the Giants are like, you answer us, please.
Yeah. Well, the reason that he wants to come here, obviously, is because the Vikings this week made some splashes in the trenches. Let's talk about those and how they help our future quarterback, JJ McCarthy. So I think the biggest one for him is the fact that they went out and got Ryan Kelly, which we knew happened on Monday. But then Tuesday morning, we wake up and we get Will Fries. And so, Thor, what is your thought on just the addition of Will Fries and how that's going to just help JJ McCarthy moving forward?
It was incredible. Yeah, the moves that they made. Fries, he was one of like two guys who got in the NFL that got a 5-year contract and was the first person ever to get one from Kwesi, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I love the moves. The Kelly move, I like. My supposition is that Garrett Bradbury will be shifted to guard if they cannot get, a day 3 offer for him. I think if
some people don't like that idea, by the way, which I think is ludicrous.
What, the shifting Bradbury?
Yeah, they're just like trade him or cut him. And my argument is
can't cut him.
Well, because you don't make that much money back by cutting him.
And he's a solid value at that I mean, look at the contracts that were tossed out. Some people, because it's like they've seen him for a couple of years, you're sick of him. But it's like, yeah, but what is the replacement level there? You cut him, after the dead cap incurred, I think, what's his savings, like 3.6?
Yeah.
You have to believe that you are going to sign a better player than him for 1 year, $3.6 million to justify that transaction. You're not going to be able to do it. By definition, You cannot. You're getting value out of that contract. Now, if you get offered a 6th round pick, I'm down with the 6th, right? Like, but in lieu of that, shifting him to guard is the correct move. And people are like, oh, play strength is a problem at center, and it's going to be even more so at guard, and you be an underside guard. Fair, but keep in mind, this is a zone running team with a lot of outside zone concepts. There is a lot of pulling of the guards. There is a lot of going and out and hunting at the second level. And then outside of that, it's like you have to hit the outside shoulder, right? Like of a dude or what. You have to be ambulatory there. Garrett Bradbury played guard earlier in his career at NC State, and he was a really, really good guard. I'm not putting it past Garrett Bradbury to be a bit better at guard. When you are flanked in this scenario, we're talking about left guard. I'm pretty sure Fries will be the right guard.
Yeah, yep.
You're talking about being flanked by Christian Darrisaw, one of the premier offensive linemen in all of football, and then Ryan Kelly, right? Like, whereas in the past it's been Ed Ingram stepping on friggin' Cousins' feet every time and is on the one side, and you got bums on both sides of you. Now you're gonna have studs on both sides of you. You're telling me that that's not gonna help? And who knows? Maybe he's more comfortable at guard, right? I mean, like, he played at the last 2 years at NC State, played the center, but again, he was a really good guard for them. He played a little bit for the Vikings, just for a little bit. But I think that's what you have to do. You have a camp competition. It's between Bradbury, Brendel, and if Ed Ingram survives till then, sure, we can toss him in. But really, it's between the other two guys. And the loser of that, he provides your line depth.
Yep.
Right. Like, both of those guys have multi-position versatility. With Bradbury, it would be the 3 interior line positions. With Brandel, he has the tackle versatility. Felix, what are you doing, Felix? We're in the middle of
Felix is making an appearance tonight.
He finally gets to come in when I'm on a show, because I always lock my office is downstairs for like right beneath us. But Felix, he'll just be outside meowing the whole time. Outside the door, sometimes whining real bad, but now he gets to be involved. But yeah, anyway, like, the loser of that is going to be the primary backup at minimum 3 positions. And then with Brendel as well, you have, either configuration, you have a tackle injury. If Brandel's the winner of it, you could theoretically, for instance, kick him to right tackle for a couple games. If
sure.
O'Neal went down, Bradbury takes over. I like it. If you get the draft pick offer for him, where the Vikings are sitting with their draft pick at lack thereof, with only the 4 picks, if you get that offer, sure, pull the trigger. Absolutely. I'm on board with you. If you don't, it's not a bad thing. He is not a bad value at that contract in this current market.
Yeah, and you consider also the injuries to Ryan Kelly, right? Like, so he's not for sure to go all season.
Major durability.
Yeah.
And a tremendous, but why didn't he get more than he got in this market? It's because he's a durability concern, right? Like, why didn't the Colts try harder? Why didn't some of these other teams come in? The Colts they're going, aren't they rolling with Bortolini or whatever?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin kid?
Yeah.
QB Film Room, I want to ask you your take on just the offensive line here for a second, because you obviously played the position, so you have a little bit extra insight to what a quarterback needs out of their offensive line.
He played quarterback, not offensive line. Just
yes. QB Film Room played quarterback.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is, like, so if you're JJ McCarthy, like, you got to be stoked about these signings, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So from a quarterback's perspective with the offensive line, it's all about how football intelligent are these guys as a group, how cohesive, how is the communication? Are these guys on the same page? Okay, so that's the first element here. Secondly, it's having functional athleticism. Okay, so each one of those offensive linemen has to be athletic enough to be able to recover if they make a mistake. Right off the bat, of things. So from my perspective, I always love guys who may not have been the biggest or the fastest, but they were the smartest. Okay, so obviously IQ reigns, at the top of my list.
So you love Garrett Bradbury,
but then I always talk about feet as well. and how quick are an offensive guard's feet, So
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So I mean, I think that JJ McCarthy is going to be well protected. I would have been concerned throwing him out there with Ed Ingram, and Blake Brandel again.
Get his feet stepped on.
Yeah. So switching to the defensive side of the ball, huge signings. We brought in Jonathan Allen. We brought in Javon Hargrave. Brought back Byron Murphy Jr. I mean, holy crap! This defense is loaded.
Yeah, that really fun signings, and not only that, I was showing these guys before. I'd sketched out the depth chart yesterday, as you do, the current one after the signings, and the other cool aspect of it is, I was talking about this with a buddy earlier today, of like, can you remember a year going into the draft where the Vikings didn't have the guns to their head like John Wick, of like, you have to pick these two positions early or you're absolutely screwed.
Mm-hmm.
You're relying on your pick equity and then the subsequent guy that you take to immediately, they have to swim, like as a starter in year one. And this year, the Vikings, for the first time I can remember, you don't have any crazy huge hole right now, and they still have flexibility to make more moves.
Yeah,
but like, whereas opposed to heading into this, you had a couple of positions where it was like that. It's like you're gonna have to use a high pick with that. Where you sit right now, the board is more open to you, number one, and I think because of that, you're gonna feel the flexibility and the things you can do. You're gonna be more comfortable with it,
for sure,
because there's a whole bunch of different directions that you could go, as opposed to having to get myopic because of the construction of the roster. So that's really cool too. But the defenses, oh boy, like, in Flores' system, what they got now, those interior defensive linemen, like, it's going to be awesome to have a good defensive line again. Could get better after the draft. Like, I mean, because that certainly could still be the first pick as an interior defensive lineman. And then, Turner's going to be playing more snaps now, sucking up the stuff that Jones left behind. We like the linebacking core, and the secondary. I think the secondary has one more addition to come. But we earlier, like right before we hit record on this, was when we got the Harrison Smith news that he's coming back. Mm-hmm. And I think you can. I think one more cornerback. I would like one more cornerback. That might end up being the first pick. We'll end up seeing. But I'm feeling good about where the Vikings are sitting right now, for sure.
So you mentioned the fact that, like, we're not pigeonholed in the draft.
Yeah.
I think pre-free agency, I was pretty like anti first round running back. Does this put a running back on the table for you at pick 24, given that like all the needs are technically filled at this point, and like you're just getting a surplus value at pick 24?
I wouldn't take a running back at 24. I would at 20 though, in one specific scenario that I do not believe will happen. But if somehow, some way, Ashton Genty starts falling through the wickets, and then and the reason I say 20 is because obviously you will have to trade up, and obviously you have a lack of equity. You would have to dip into the future year, like a day 2 pick, and you're probably gonna have to trade your third this year as well to make that move. But if Genty's on the table at that point, and the Broncos, for instance, at 20 would be willing to trade down, that's a transaction I would do. But no, I'm not taking Omari and Hampton there. I'm not taking Travion Henderson there. I will, however, if the trade down into the top of the second round, that's where it opens up for me. With Travion or with Hampton, and they might be off the board then. That's fine. Because the guy I really want is Caleb Johnson in round 3. I told Caleb beforehand, I said, bro, I know how cool it'd be to just blaze a 40 and go as high as you can in the draft. But I'll tell you something cooler. Tank that 40, fall to the third round, go up and beat the running back with JJ McCarthy and behind the sick offensive line. And then you got Jones. You want to have to do everything year one. You do Caleb Johnson things. Aaron Jones does Aaron Jones things. And like the world keeps spinning on its axis.
I love that. And you know what? I would support it. QB Film Room. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah.
Yes.
How are you feeling? He doesn't have an extension quite yet, but after this week, are you willing to give him the bag? Are you got full trust in him yet?
So, I think so. He had a lot of pressure on him.
Say it from your chest, my man. Say it from your chest.
He had a lot of. I mean, think about it. KOC, he receives an extension mid-January, late January type scenes. All the talk has been about, okay, when is Kwesi going to be extended, etc. So he's been under a microscope. And how he performed the first 2 days of free agency, I don't think we've seen something this solid from,
that was good
from top to bottom, bro.
Yeah.
And he's not done, right?
No.
Like we talk about the money that
done.
he's got left. I think I still want to see them go get a cornerback. The guy that I was shooting for was Benjamin St. Juste. He just got picked up by the Chargers today, so I don't think that's quite an option. Do you guys have any names off the top of your head where you're like, damn, that would be a good fit?
For me, well, we were talking about, and that might be apocryphal, but the rumor of the Sauce Gardner and the Addison, like, it's probably LBS. But if there was any smoke there, I would absolutely make that transaction. And there are receivers to sign. Like that, I think that people that don't like that, they don't realize that you can sign some of these receivers for affordable prices that could step in and start for you right away. And at that point, say you're Cooper Kupp, just for instance, as one guy. JJ McCarthy last spring was talking about like, oh, everyone wanted to play for the Vikings. All the free agent receivers at that point. Mm-hmm. You tell me what you'll pay me. I don't really care. Let me play in the most advantageous position in all of professional football, which is lining up on the other side from Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver 2 on Justin Jefferson's team. You will never see double coverage. You will never see the cornerback one. The Lions game was the one exception because the Amick Robertson and they flipped it and then just doubled Jefferson the whole time. But you are not going to have any extra coverage resources rolled your way. So the transaction would become a 2-for-2 really when you consider the guy that you would sign otherwise. And I would rather have Sauce Gardner and Cooper Kupp, for instance, than Jordan Addison and say Shaq Griffin.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with that.
Well, there's still some, like to your point, there's still good receivers out there too, outside of Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
he should be priority number one. I mean, and I don't know why he wouldn't want to come here. He knows the system. To your point, he can line up alongside JJ. But the other sneaky ones that are out there is Keenan Allen would be a solid addition as well. And then I'm being a homer here because Diggs is my guy, but I would love to see a Diggs reunion. Number 14 just opened up with the Sam Darnold departure.
Yeah, so
we're ready for a reunion there.
That would be interesting for sure. And then your 2 starting receivers, you got Jefferson and then Diggs. Like the parallels would just continue.
Well, so we're going to have a lot more conversation throughout the rest of this offseason. Whatever moves continue to come down the pipe with Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell. As it stands today, it's March 12th. Give me your prediction for the draft right now. It would obviously subject to change.
Yeah. So, I wanted to mention Kwesi again. Okay?
Go for it.
We're sitting here watching JJ McCarthy type scenes.
Yeah.
From Michigan days.
Dude takes some hits, by the way.
And he certainly
tough
did.
kid.
So I remember when he was playing at the Gophers. This was October of 2023. Okay. Who was in the stands that game? Who was on the field watching JJ McCarthy? And he balled out that game. I remember watching it live. Kwesi was at that game.
Was he?
Okay. So now with the Aaron Rodgers rumor, okay. So under that assumption, JJ McCarthy was Kwesi's guy, over 51% in terms of who made the call on him. So is this Aaron Rodgers rumor fueled by KOC type scenes? Okay, that's
wow. Okay.
So is this right?
There's no way. I don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. And the certainly Kwesi in on McCarthy, and at this point is betting his career on him, but KOC prominently involved, right? Like KOC to when QB film room, this is this is when QB Film Room became famous. But a part of the response that KOC had to, and for people that don't know, QB Film Room was the guy that asked KOC the question in the church in April about the quarterbacks. What was the exact question that you asked? It was beautiful.
I brought up Drake May initially, I think, about how he was able to anticipate windows on film. Obviously, I already knew that they had Josh McGowan in the building, who was Drake May's high school coach. So I kind of knew that, or I thought that KOC was leaning May. So I opened up asking about May, but then talked about how McCarthy was operating Harbaugh's pro-style system. And then I just, sort of melded those two things together. And
how do you weigh that when you're making a decision? Well, we know what they did. They went and got McCarthy. Who from like a character perspective is a mini KOC.
Yes.
Oh, like every interview
1,000%.
that McCarthy goes out there, he speaks exactly like KOC.
Exactly
does.
like him. Yeah, and in that response that KOC gave the QB Film Room, he said, "I'm known as the quarterback killer in Egan."
Yes.
Might have been the most like memorable quote from that thing. But the fact that he signed off on him, and obviously the direction that this thing is going. It's going to be super fun.
It is.
Well, give me your draft predictions, and we'll close this thing out, and we'll start watching some film.
My prediction is trade out of the first round, be picking in the top of the second, and I'm going to say a cornerback with that first pick. Now trading down, you will have acquired at least one extra day 2 pick.
I'm looking at all your cornerback rankings over here on the side.
We got those up right now. I like Ravel. Some people now are kind of nitpicking Ravel, and
top 15 pick if he doesn't tear his ACL.
1,000%. Yeah, I mean, like he's not quite as tall as Tariq Woolen, but it's very similar, and that's, as you guys can see, that I got my whole database up there with all my comps and stuff like that. But yeah, that's my one for him is Tariq Woolen. But and I was in Indianapolis. I did not do his knee checkup or whatever I didn't do his medical checkup. We weren't staying at a Holiday Inn Express down there, but as long as the medicals come back okay, and they should. It's a freaking ACL. Right. Like, we're in 2025. The one that scares me is the hip injury, which is what Morrison has. And he might have gotten signed off on, but you have to know with that. But as long as Ravel has gotten signed off on, he tore his ACL in practice in late September, I believe. He has a really good shot to be ready for a training camp and certainly the start of the season. Whereas, we'll see Morrison and a couple of these other guys coming off the season-ending injuries. But yeah, that's what I'd say there. And then you're going to acquire at least one extra day 2 pick. And I guess I'm not going out on a limb, but one of those other day 2 picks is going to be delineated to a running back.
I'm down with that.
Caleb Johnson. cough.
Any prediction from you, QB Film Room?
Actually, yes. So I too am with Thor in thinking that a cornerback or safety would be ideal at that pick, with the possibility of trading back in the second round. But additionally, there's a tight end from the University of Miami,
Arroyo.
Yeah. If he's there, okay, which right now may be considered a big if.
At 24?
Yeah. I think he will be, but you never know. I think that's a spot right there to draft for value in the future within KOC's offense, to have a guy who can potentially take over Hawkinson's role at some point.
Interesting. I mean, we had Ben Albright on a couple weeks ago on our show, and he's got Wes Phillips' phone number in his cell, and he told us that the Vikings would like to shift to more 12 personnel.
Really?
And so look for them to be a dark horse team to take a tight end in the draft. He mentioned the Syracuse kid Gadsden, but you never know.
Well, I got him. I got Gadsden in round 7 of my PFF mock today. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh man, that's a steal.
Yeah, it was one of I turned the 4 picks into 9. I like turning the the water into wine when I do the PFF thing.
Hell
But
yeah.
every single time I get done with it, and I'm like, did I just become Rick Spielman again? Because every time I'm just trading down and I love my 7th round picks. I actually do. So it's like, man, if I was a GM, I would just turn into Rick Spielman and everyone would mock me.
Rick Spielman.
But now you get why he did it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, you see how many freaking guys I got in my database. There's dudes I want to shoot a shot on, in round 7, but Gadsden's you're gonna be able to get him. I don't know about round 7, but like, he's gonna be a later day 3 type pick because he can't play inline. It's the big slot guy.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, he's got good bloodlines, got a good frame. We haven't gotten the athletic testing on him, but he is a skill receiver.
Yeah, for sure. That'll conclude this episode. We're gonna watch some film here, re-record another one, but if you guys like this kind of format, we're just kind of experimenting with it, but I think it's kind of fun. It's a little bit more personable than just being behind a camera at your computer. But and
don't talk crap about the court situation here. I can already tell I'm gonna get some guff about my court situation. But understand, you got can they even see that on the?
I don't know if they can.
Okay. Well, then maybe just if you can't see the court situation,
you can always cut that out if we need.
Just pretend I didn't say that.
But drop a comment in the chat. Let us know how you feel about this episode. If you like this, maybe we can convince this crew to get together again. But also make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm feeling very generous, by the way. I thought about this long and hard before I came over, if I'm willing to do this, and I think I am. If we can get to 4,000 subscribers by the NFL draft, I will buy a fan who is subscribed to the podcast a JJ McCarthy jersey.
Oh, I love that.
I will do it.
I love that.
So you heard it here. I probably should have started that with the episode. Maybe I'll do it on the next one.
Yeah, it's legally binding now.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So yeah, like and subscribe. Enter to win a JJ McCarthy jersey. And until next time, everybody, Skol Vikings.